Evan Cole, a human engineer, had spent many long nights alone on Aurora Station. The place was quiet, too quiet sometimes. Only the soft hum of machines and blinking lights kept him company during late shifts. He liked silence, but tonight something felt different. There was a strange pressure in the air, like someone was watching him. Evan stood near the control panel, checking power levels, when he heard the soft sound of a door sliding open behind him. He turned slowly, expecting another crew member. But instead, he saw a girl. She wasn't human, she was small, maybe 16 or 17 in human years, with pale silver skin that glowed under the station lights. Her hair long and shining like liquid metal fell gently over her shoulders. Her eyes were bright and soft, with a mix of fear and sadness. She wore a thin robe that looked almost ceremonial. Before Evan could speak, the girl's eyes widened. Her whole body stiffened, and then she dropped to her knees. She bowed her head so low it touched the floor. Her hands pressed flat against the metal, shaking. Evan froze. Nobody bowed to humans. Nobody bowed on Aurora Station at all. It felt wrong, painfully wrong. Hey, what are you doing?" Evan said, stepping closer. "There's no need to bow. Please stand up." But the girl did not move. She stayed kneeling, like she was terrified to even lift her head. Evan crouched down beside her. "It's okay. You don't have to do that here. I'm Evan. I won't hurt you." Still, nothing. Just shaking. He noticed her breath was fast, almost panicked. She whispered something, so quiet he barely heard it. "If I don't bow, they will punish us both." Her voice was soft, scared, almost broken. Evan frowned. "Who?" "Number 1 here will punish you." She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled her sleeves down quickly, as if hiding something. That movement caught Evan's attention. He reached out gently. "It's okay," he said again. "I need to help you." This time she finally spoke, still bowed to the floor. "Please, do not touch me. If the overseers sense disobedience, they will come." Overseers? Evan had never heard of that name before. "Look," he said softly, "you're safe here. This is a human station. Nobody controls you here." The girl shook her head fast. "Humans are above us. We bow, we obey. It is the rule." Evan's chest tightened. She actually believed that. Who told her humans were above her? What kind of life had she lived? Just then, the station lights flickered. A soft alarm beeped in the distance. Evan glanced toward the hallway. He felt something strange, like the station had detected a hidden signal. He looked back at the girl. "Are you running from someone?" She finally lifted her head an inch. Her eyes, glowing like blue stars, looked at him with a mix of hope and fear. She nodded once. "Yes, they are coming for me." Evan felt a jolt of worry. "Why? What did you do?" The girl swallowed. I was born. That is my crime." He stared at her, confused. Before he could ask more, a faint symbol glowing gold flashed on her wrist. She gasped and covered it again quickly. "What was that?" Evan asked gently. "It is a mark," she whispered. "A royal mark. They say it means I must bow. My whole life I was told that I am not allowed to look up. I must not stand. I must not speak without permission." Evan's jaw tightened. Whoever trained her had destroyed her confidence completely. He tried again. "I'm telling you the truth. You don't have to bow to me, or anyone." The girl finally lifted her head fully. Tears gathered in her shining eyes. "Humans always say that at first. Then they order us to kneel again." Evan shook his head firmly. "Not me." Suddenly, the entire station shook with a heavy vibration. A docking warning flashed red. Some ship was attaching to the station. The girl gasped. "They found me." Evan turned to the window. A large, dark ship slowly rotated into view. It didn't match any friendly species. Its design was sharp, cruel, and full of blue flame. Soldiers, tall, armored aliens moved inside like shadows. The girl tugged his sleeve. Please. Do not give me to them, even if you do not want me. Even if you hate me. Please. Hate you? Evan repeated, shocked. I don't hate you. I don't even know you yet. Her voice cracked. No one has ever spoken to me like this. The station's hallway lights turned red. Heavy footsteps echoed closer. The overseers were already inside. Evan looked at the girl. Her whole body was trembling. Her fingers dug into the floor. She looked at him like he was her last chance. Listen, Evan whispered. I'm not letting them take you. Her eyes widened. But if you protect me, they will hurt you too. Evan stood up straight. Let them try. The girl stared at him in shock. No one ever had stood for her. Footsteps reached the door. The metal slid open, and the overseers entered. The door slid open with a sharp hiss, and the room filled with cold blue light. 3 tall armored aliens stepped inside. Their armor was black steel mixed with living veins of blue fire, glowing like something alive. They were silent, strict, and terrifying. Evan stood in front of the girl, blocking her completely. The leading overseer scanned the room with a deep metallic voice. Human, we are looking for our subject. Evan forced himself to stay calm. There's no one here who belongs to you. The overseer tilted his helmeted head. Everything marked belongs to us. The girl behind Evan trembled. He could hear her breath breaking. He needed to keep her hidden, but the overseers were trained hunters. They could sense fear, movement, even heartbeats. The overseer stepped closer. Move aside, human. Your life will be spared if you do not interfere. Evan didn't move. Instead, he said, you can search the station database yourself. I'm just a maintenance engineer. Nobody came through here. For a moment, it seemed like the overseers believed him. They turned slowly, scanning the walls. But then, the girl's wrist mark flashed faintly under her robe. A thin beam of blue light shot from the overseer's helmet and locked onto her. There, the girl gasped. Evan grabbed her hand and pulled her behind a control table. The overseers spread out. The hunt had begun. A secret she never wanted to show. Come on, Evan whispered, guiding her toward a maintenance hatch. We need to hide. The girl shook her head. No hiding. They always find me. Well, not today. He pressed a button on the panel, opening the hatch. Inside was a narrow tunnel used for wiring. He pushed her in gently. She whispered. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Evan gave a soft smile. Because I can see you're scared. And because I don't like bullies. She stared at him, confused and amazed. When Evan entered the hatch behind her, he noticed she was gripping her wrist tightly again. The same wrist that glowed. Let me see that mark. No. She said quickly. If you see it, you will fear me. I already saw it earlier, he said calmly. And I'm still here. After a long silence, she slowly raised her arm. The mark glowed softly in elegant shape, like a star inside a circle, with tiny lines branching outward. It shimmered like gold liquid under her skin. Evan scanned it with his wrist device. The result shocked him. Subject: royal bloodline, House Alindra status, extinct, last survivor. He looked at her in disbelief. Your royalty? She nodded weakly. A princess of a kingdom that does not exist anymore. My family died long ago. The overseers took control. They made us bow for them. They said it was for order. She looked down. But really, it was to break us. Evan felt anger rising. Nobody deserved a life like that. Why did they come now? He asked. Because my mark awakened last night, she whispered. It means I am old enough now to take the throne. And they do not want a real ruler to return. Evan stared at her. This wasn't just a scared girl. This was a key to an empire. A lost queen. The overseers. Get closer. The metal around them vibrated. Heavy steps echoed through the vents above. The overseers were scanning every part of the station. A voice boomed through the corridors. Royal subject detected. Human interference confirmed. Execute retrieval protocol. The girl hugged herself, shaking violently. It will be bad. Very bad. Evan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Look at me. I'm not letting them take you. Her eyes filled with tears. No one ever says that. They only tell me to kneel or be silent. Well, Evan said with a half smile, maybe it's time someone tells you to stand. She blinked, confused. Stand. That is forbidden. Not with me, he whispered. Power she never used. The tunnel lights flickered. The overseers were cutting into the metal walls. Now Evan felt the girl move closer. Her skin glowed, faintly brighter than before. Are you okay? He asked. I don't know, she replied. My mark changes when I am scared. Suddenly, her wrist mark flared bright gold, then white, then blue. The entire tunnel lit up. Evan shielded his eyes. What was that? She gasped. I do not know. I have never used any power before. But the overseers say the royal line has abilities, dangerous ones. The metal wall beside them melted strangely, turning soft like heated glass. Evan stared. You just did that. I didn't mean to, but Evan smiled. You might be stronger than all of them. She stared at her own hand in shock. A plan they never expected. The overseers tore open the tunnel entrance. There was no time left. Evan grabbed the girl's hand. Listen, we're going to the core room. If we reach the beacon there, we can call human reinforcements. But they will see us. They'll see us either way, Evan said. Better to run toward hope than stand still and surrender. The girl swallowed hard. Humans are brave. Not all, Evan laughed. But some try. He helped her up. She stood weakly, but she stood, for the first time, without bowing. Ready? He asked. She nodded. Then the two of them sprinted deeper into the station as the overseers roared behind them. The core room was still far away, but Evan and the alien girl hurried through the narrow, dim tunnels. Red emergency lights flashed overhead. Each flash made the girl flinch, as if expecting someone to punish her for moving too fast, breathing too loud, or simply existing. Behind them, the sound of metal being crushed echoed loudly. The overseers had entered the maintenance system. Evan stopped for a moment and listened. The rhythmic thud of the overseer's boots was getting closer. We need to move faster, he whispered. The girl nodded, but her legs felt unsteady. She was still afraid to run without permission. Every few steps she slowed down, almost bowing. Again out of habit. Evan gently touched her arm. You don't need to bow. Not ever again. She looked up at him with those glowing blue eyes, unsure if she should believe him. The path of broken lights. They crawled out of the maintenance tunnel into a long hallway. The lights here flickered violently. The air smelled like burned metal. The girl stopped suddenly. This is a restricted zone. I am not allowed here, Evan sighed. You're allowed anywhere now. This is your life, not theirs. A distant roar thundered through the corridor. The overseers had found their trail. The girl's breathing grew quicker. They are angry. Let them stay angry, Evan said, pulling her forward. We're not stopping. But halfway down the hallway, the emergency doors slammed shut, one after another. Clang, clang. Each door sealed with heavy metal locks. The girl stepped back, terrified. We cannot pass. They control the system. No, Evan said. They don't. He pulled out a small engineering chip from his pocket and pressed it into the door panel. Sparks flew. The screen blinked. Access denied. Access. Denied access overridden. Engineer code ACTIV. The door opened slowly. The girl looked at Evan like he had performed magic. Humans can open sealed doors? Only the clever ones, Evan said with a wink. Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile, but fear returned. quickly as another explosion sounded behind them. "They are almost here," she whispered. The overseers entered the hall. Evan and the girl ran through the next door. As it slid shut behind them, the hallway trembled. The metal bent inward like something heavy was pressing against it. Then crash. The door behind them exploded inward. The overseers stepped into the hallway. Their height was almost twice that of a human. Their armor shifted like living shadows. Blue flames ran through their armor, pulsing with each step. Their eyes, if they had any, glowed behind black masks. The leader raised a long spear-like weapon. "Royal subject," the deep mechanical voice boomed. "Do not resist. You belong to the Empire." The girl hid behind Evan, trembling. Her fingers gripped the back of his shirt. "I don't belong to anyone." She cried out softly, almost too soft for her own voice. But the overseers heard it. The leader stepped forward. "Subject has spoken without permission. Punishment required." He lifted his spear. The human versus the Empire. Evan stepped forward. Before the girl could move, "Touch her," he said calmly, "and I'll break your suit open myself." Even the girl gasped. "Evan, don't, please." The overseers froze for 1 second. Not because of fear, humans were not a threat to them, but because no human had ever spoken to an overseer like that. "Human," the leader said slowly, "your interference is illogical. You cannot protect her." "Watch me," Evan replied. The overseers raised their weapons. Blue energy crackled. At the tips. Evan pulled the girl behind a metal crate as 3 beams of blue energy shot down the corridor. Boom! 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 Sparks flew everywhere. The lights overhead shattered. The girl covered her ears, unable to breathe properly. Her wrist mark glowed brighter and brighter, the same light as when she accidentally melted the tunnel wall earlier. "Your mark," Evan said. "It's reacting to them. Can you control it?" She shook her head violently. "I don't know. How? They never let me practice anything. They only trained me to bow and obey." The overseers marched closer, their weapons ready to fire again. Evan whispered, "You can do more than bow. Trust me. Trust yourself." Her eyes widened. She placed a hand on her wrist mark. A power the Empire feared. The overseers fired again. 3 powerful bursts. The girl screamed. Her wrist mark exploded with bright light, white, gold, and blue swirling together. A shockwave burst out of her like a wave. Whom? The energy struck the overseers head on. The metal floor cracked. Walls shuddered. Flying debris shot through the air. When the smoke cleared, the overseers stumbled back, armor flickering like a damaged machine. Evan stared at the girl in awe. She looked shocked by her own power. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "Don't apologize," Evan said. "You just saved both of us." The overseers recovered quickly, but now they sounded different. Less confident. More cautious. "Royal subject has awakened," the leader growled. "This is unacceptable. Termination protocol activated." "The chase continues." Evan grabbed her hand. "We need to run, now." The girl nodded. She didn't bow. She didn't freeze. She ran, and not because someone commanded her, but because she wanted to live. As they sprinted toward the core room, alarms blared, flames burst from broken panels, and the overseer's heavy footsteps thundered behind them. Girl looked at Evan with determination slowly growing in her eyes. For the first time in her life, she was not running as a slave. She was running as someone who wanted to fight. The core room door was only a few meters away when the hallway lights blinked out, plunging everything into darkness. The girl froze for a second, terrified. Darkness meant danger in her world. Darkness meant punishment. Evan grabbed her hand tightly. "It's okay. Stay with me." She took a shaky breath. She trusted his voice more than the shadows. Suddenly, the emergency lights came on, dim red beams sliding across the hallway like blood. The metallic echo of heavy boots grew louder behind them. The overseers were near. Evan, she whispered, they are not stopping. They will follow us until we bow or die. Then we don't bow, Evan said. Simple. She stared at him, shocked. For her, the idea of not bowing felt like breaking the sky. Humans were strange. But maybe in a good way. They reached the core room door. Evan scanned his ID card. Access requested verifying user. Access granted. The door slid open. But before they could step inside, a massive, armored hand shot out from the shadows and slammed the door back shut. The impact shook the entire corridor. The leader of the overseers stood there, towering above them. Blue fire pulsed through his armor like a heartbeat. He looked more machine than creature. Royal subject, the deep metallic voice growled. Step away from the human. He is not worthy of your protection. Evan stepped in front of her anyway. She's not yours. The overseer tilted his head slowly. You are a fragile creature. And yet you place yourself between us and our property. She's not property. Evan snapped. The overseer raised his spear, blue energy building at the tip. Humans are foolish, but you human. You are the greatest fool of all. The girl watches him stand alone. Evan turned slightly toward the girl. When I tell you to run, you run to the core room. Her eyes widened. You will be hurt. Maybe, he said honestly, but you will be safe. She trembled. No one has ever protected me before. He gave her a small smile. There's a first time for everything. Then Evan stepped forward. Alone. The overseers began to surround him. 3 of them, glowing with blue heat. Their armor vibrated like living stone. The girl clutched her hands to her chest. She wanted to help, but fear chained her feet to the floor. She had never fought for herself, let alone someone else. The leader pointed his spear at Evan's head. Move aside. Final warning. Evan lifted his chin. No. The corridor went silent. Even the station machinery seemed to pause. A human had just told an overseer no. The leader growled, then die for her. He thrust the spear forward. Human courage versus alien power. Evan ducked just in time. The spear hit the wall behind him, melting a hole through solid metal. He rolled to the side and grabbed a loose metal rod from the floor. It wasn't a weapon, but it was something. The second overseer swung an armored fist at him. Evan blocked. With the rod, crack! The rod snapped in half. Evan stumbled back. The girl gasped. Evan! He looked at her briefly. Go, run! But her feet refused to move. She couldn't leave him. The leader charged again. Evan dodged, barely. Sparks lit the hallway as the spear scraped across the floor. Humans weren't built for this. But Evan refused to stop. He lunged forward and smashed the broken rod into the overseer's arm. The blow didn't break the armor, but it disrupted their balance. The overseer hissed. Annoying creature. Then the second overseer grabbed Evan by the neck and lifted him off the ground. The girl screamed. Stop! Her wrist mark flashed, but she didn't release her power. Fear tangled it inside her. Evan choked, kicking helplessly as the alien squeezed tighter. You. What? Her? Evan gasped. You'll go through me, the overseer growled and threw Evan across the floor like a rag doll. He smashed into a wall and collapsed, coughing. Human resistance. Pointless, the leader declared. We take the royal subject now. The girl stepped back in panic as they advanced toward her. But suddenly, Evan pulled himself up. Slow. Painful, but determined. He stood, blood on his lip. Bruised arms, shaking legs, but he stood. You're not touching her. The moment something changes, the overseers turned in surprise. How was the human still conscious? The girl stared at Evan, her heart pounding. No one had ever risen after being thrown aside. No one had ever fought for her. No one had ever stood for her. She saw him. Broken, hurting, but refusing to kneel. Something inside her cracked open. She whispered to herself, "He stands, so why can't I?" Her wrist mark glowed again, brighter this time. Not wild like before, steady, controlled, a warm golden light surrounded her hand. The overseer leader reached for her. Royal Subj. He didn't finish. A burst of golden force erupted from her palm, hitting him straight in the chest. Boom! The shockwave threw all three overseers backward, crashing them into the walls. Their armor flickered, damaged. Evan stared at her in amazement that she stood tall, not bowing, not shaking. Standing. For the first time in her life, the girl looked at her glowing hand, shocked. I did it. Evan gave her a proud smile. Yeah, you did. The escape alarms blared again. More overseers were coming. You just woke up every sensor on the station, Evan said. We have to move. The girl nodded, standing straighter than ever. Together, they ran into the core room, behind them. The overseers roared, but now their roars carried fear, not of the human, but of the girl who no longer bowed. The core room door closed behind them with a heavy metallic slam. Evan locked the controls quickly, sealing the entrance with every safety code he knew. His hands shook from pain, but he kept working. The girl hovered close, watching him with worried eyes. Are you okay? She whispered. Evan wiped blood from his mouth. Been better, but I'm fine. She looked at him the way someone might look at a miracle, disbelieving, unsure, yet full of hope. Around them, the core room glowed with soft blue light. Hundreds of energy lines ran across the floor like glowing rivers. At the center stood the ancient beacon, a large sphere of glass and metal, sleeping in silence. Evan leaned against a railing to steady himself. The girl stepped closer. Her fingers brushed the air as if she wanted to touch him, but was afraid. You didn't leave me, she said quietly. Of course I didn't. No one stays when the overseers come. Evan looked at her gently. Maybe no one stayed before, but I'm not them. The girl lowered her eyes. I don't understand you. I don't understand humans, he laughed softly. We're complicated. She frowned, confused by the joke. Her world had no humor, only rules. Humans stand for each other? She asked. Sometimes, he said. The good ones do. She looked at him again, then slowly sat on the floor. Her robe settled around her like soft silver water. The glow of her wrist mark pulsed faintly. Evan slid down beside her. For the first time since he met her, the room felt calm. A story never meant to be told. She placed her hand over her wrist mark. It hurts, she said softly. From using your power? Evan asked. No, this mark, it hurts my heart. Evan stayed quiet, letting her speak at her own pace. When I was very little, she began, the overseers took me. They said they were protecting me, but it was a lie. Her voice trembled. They didn't want me to rule. They didn't want my family to return, so they trained me to bow instead. She pressed her forehead against her knees. For years, I was told I was weak, fragile, a failure. They said the royal line must kneel to keep peace. If I lifted my head without permission, they punished everyone around me. Evan felt anger burning inside him. They punished others, not just you? She nodded slowly. Yes, they hurt the ones near me. So I learned never to lift my head, never to speak, never to stand. Because my disobedience caused suffering. Evan's chest tightened. She hadn't bowed out of fear alone. She bowed because she thought bowing protected others. That truth broke him. So, Evan said softly, you bowed to me. Not because I scared you? She shook her head. No. I bowed because I thought it was the only way to keep you safe. I thought if I lifted my head, the overseers would punish you. Evan exhaled slowly. She had tried to protect him from the moment they met. You carried that alone, he whispered. She looked up at him, tears shining. I didn't know what else to do. The first time she looks up, Evan held her gaze. "You're not weak," he said. "You're the strongest person I've ever met." She blinked, confused. "Strong?" "I ran, I bowed, I cried." "Strong people know fear," Evan replied. "But they stand anyway, like you did earlier." The room fell silent. A soft hum from the beacon filled the air. She touched her glowing wrist again. "My power, it scares me. I don't want to hurt anyone." "You won't," Evan assured her. "Because you care. That's what makes you different from them." She studied his face, searching for lies. She found none. Then slowly, gently, she lifted her chin. For the first time in her entire life, she looked up fully at another living being without fear. Evan saw her eyes clearly, blue, bright, alive. She didn't hide. She simply looked. "It feels strange," she whispered, "like something heavy is gone." "That's because you're finally being yourself." Hope inside the core. The room trembled suddenly. Distant footsteps echoed again. "They're breaking in," Evan said. Standing quickly, she stood to, no bowing, no hesitating. "What do we do?" she asked, voice steadying. "We wake the beacon," Evan said. "If humans answer the signal, we can get help." She stepped toward the beacon, mesmerized by its soft glow. "Only royal blood can activate it," Evan said. "That means you." She stared at the ancient sphere. Its surface reflected her glowing wristmark. "Evan?" she whispered. "Yes? Will humans help me?" He placed a hand on her shoulder. "If they know the truth? Yes, they will fight for you." The girl breathed in deeply, then placed her hand on the beacon. Golden light spread through the core room like sunrise. The beacon awakened. But light reveals shadows. Alarms blared louder than ever. The overseers had broken into the outer hall. Evan grabbed her hand again. "They're coming." She did not tremble this time. She squared her shoulders. She lifted her chin. Her wrist mark glowed like a star. "Let them come," she said quietly. "I'm done bowing." Evan nodded. The beacon roared, sending a message. Into the stars, a call for humans. A call for help. A call for war. The beacon's golden light shot upward like a pillar, passing through the ceiling, the station, and into the cold darkness of space. It glowed brighter and brighter until the whole core room felt like sunrise inside a dream. The girl stepped back, staring at her own hand. "I did this?" Evan nodded, still breathing hard from the fight. "You activated a signal that hasn't spoken in hundreds of years." She looked frightened. "What if I called someone dangerous?" Evan shook his head. "Humans will answer. And humans don't bow to anyone." Before she could respond, the core room shook violently. Bone dust fell from the ceiling. The heavy door behind them dented inward. The overseers had arrived. Evan pulled the girl behind a console. "Stay low." The door was crushed open with a blast of blue fire. 3 overseers marched in, bigger, angrier, and half their armor cracked from the girl's earlier attack. Their leader pointed at her, voice deep and sharp. "Royal subject has awakened the beacon. She must be terminated before the Empire returns." The girl gasped. "Terminated? They want me gone?" Evan whispered. "They fear you. They know your mark means power." Her hands began glowing again, gold and blue mixed, like a rising star, but this time there was new strength in her eyes. Still, she trembled. "I don't know if I can do it again," she whispered. Double quotes. "Yes, you can," Evan said. "This time, don't use your power because you're scared. Use it because you want to live." The overseers raised their weapons. "Human," the leader growled. "You will move aside. This is not your fight." Evan stepped forward again. "I think it is." The overseers attacked with a roar. The overseers fired 3 blue energy blasts. Evan pushed the girl behind a metal panel and dove out of the way. The core room exploded with sparks. One of the consoles caught fire. Another burst open, sending pieces flying. The girl cried out, "Evan!" He shook off debris. "I'm fine, keep your focus." The overseers advanced steadily. Their armor flickered but held strong. They raised their weapons again, but this time, the girl stood. Her legs shook. Her heart raced, but she stood with her head high. "No more," she whispered. "If I bow, it will never end." Her wrist. Mark ignited like a small sun. The core room filled with golden light. A power she never knew. The overseers fired a second wave of blasts. This time, instead of hiding, the girl lifted her hand. A glowing shield formed around her, and Evan thin, shimmering like glass but strong. The blasts hit the shield and scattered like raindrops hitting stone. Evan stared. "You made a shield? I didn't know I could." Her voice held wonder, not fear. The overseers hesitated for the first time. The leader roared. Royal abilities confirmed. She must not survive the Empire's return. He raised his spear, but something happened behind them. The beacon answers. The beacon pulsed once, twice, then a deep, powerful hum filled the room. A holographic map appeared over the beacon. Glowing white blue dot, it showed distant human colonies, human ships. Human fleets. Lines of light connected them, a path across the stars. Then one symbol blinked brightly. A human battleship responding. Evan's breath caught. "They heard us." The girl looked at him with wide eyes. "Humans really came?" "Yes," Evan said softly. "Because you matter. Because your life is worth protecting." For the first time, she believed him. But the overseers saw the hologram too. "No," the leader roared. "She will not be rescued." He charged forward. The final stand before help arrives. Evan stepped in front of her again, even though he was injured. The girl grabbed his hand. "No, you protected me. Now it's my turn." Her wrist mark glowed brighter than ever. The air around her vibrated with energy. The overseer leader swung his spear. The girl raised both hands. Boom! A wave of golden force burst outward, knocking the overseers off their feet, throwing them across the core room. For a moment, everything fell silent. Smoke drifted across the floor. Evan stared at her, awe in his eyes. "You're incredible," she looked at her glowing hands. "I didn't know I had this kind of power." "You didn't," Evan said gently. "Not until you stopped bowing." Her expression softened. But she wasn't safe yet. Outside the core room, more footsteps echoed. Reinforcements. The overseers weren't done. The shadow of the Empire returns. The beacon's hologram shifted. Now it showed something else. A symbol shaped like a star inside a ring. The girl's eyes widened. "That is the crest of my family." The hologram flickered again, projecting a message in an old royal language she barely recognized. "The lost heir lives. The Empire will rise again." Her heart pounded. "If my people see this signal," she whispered, "they will know I exist." Evan looked at her with steady eyes. "Then it's not just the overseers who are returning." She breathed in slowly, a princess stepping into her destiny. Footsteps thundered outside. Blue flames lit the doorway, more overseers, but she didn't bow. She stood taller than ever. "Evan," she said softly, "when humans arrive, will you stay with me?" "Always," he said. The core room lights flickered as the overseers prepared to storm in. The girl lifted her glowing hands. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. She was rising. The core room doors shook violently as more overseers gathered outside. Their blue flames lit the hallway like a burning storm. The girl stood at the center of the room with her hands glowing gold, her chin lifted higher than it had ever been. She was no longer the trembling child who bowed at every shadow. She was the last heir of a fallen empire, and she was done kneeling. Evan stood beside her, bruised but steady. His presence gave her courage, like a quiet shield that asked for nothing but truth. The overseer's voices echoed outside. "Royal subject, surrender. Your existence threatens the order." The girl whispered, "For years, I believed them. I believed my life was a danger." Evan shook his head gently. "No, your life is a hope." Her hands glowed brighter. The storm breaks through the doors exploded inward. 3 overseers charged in with blue fire blazing. Behind them, more. Shadows moved, an army ready to erase her. The girl stepped forward instead of backward. The leader raised his spear. "Royal subject, kneel or be." "I will not kneel," she said. Her voice did not shake. A wave of gold light spread from beneath her feet, cracking the floor like glowing roots. The overseers lunged. The girl lifted both hands. A barrier of shimmering gold burst into existence, stronger and wider than any she had made before. The overseer's weapons slammed into it and scattered like broken glass. Evan stared in awe. "You're controlling it," she nodded, eyes fierce. "I am tired of bowing. I am tired of being afraid." The barrier pushed outward with slow, unstoppable force, like a rising sun forcing back the night. For the first time, the overseers stepped back. Humans arrived. The beacon pulsed again, louder. Then the core room ceiling cracked open as something massive blocked the stars above. A ship. A human ship. Bigger than anything the overseers possessed. The girl looked up. Breath caught in her chest. A deep voice echoed through the station speakers. "Aurora Station. This is the Terran Unity battleship. Saul's hammer. We received your distress signal. Stand by." Evan almost laughed. He knew that ship. It was one of Earth's strongest. The overseers froze. Even they knew that name. The girl whispered, "They came for me?" "Yes," Evan said. "And not just humans. They came for what you represent." Her heart felt strange, heavy and light at the same time. A new fear in the overseers. The leader roared, trying to regain control. "This changes nothing. She is a threat to the order." "No," Evan said, stepping beside her again. "She's a threat to your control. There's a difference." The overseer charged forward, pushing against her golden barrier. Cracks appeared in the shield. The girl gritted her teeth. Her fingers trembled. "I can't hold it much longer." "Yes, you can," Evan whispered. "Not because you have to, but because you choose to." Something in his voice reached her, a truth she had never heard from anyone. She stood taller. The crack stopped spreading. The shield brightened. And the overseer leader stumbled back in shock. "The beacon reveals her destiny." The beacon's hologram flickered to life again. This time, it did not show ships. It showed people, her people. A lost species scattered across the galaxy, small groups. Refugees, survivors, all reacting to the signal she had awakened. Some gasped, some knelt crying, some raised hands in hope. Single message formed above them all: the air lives. The girl covered her mouth, eyes filling with tears. "My people." They thought the royal line was gone. Evan placed a hand on her shoulder. "They know the truth now." The beacon projected one last symbol, the crest of her family, a star inside a golden ring. She stared at it, feeling something she had never felt before. Belonging. The final stand. The overseers gathered for one last attack, desperate to finish their mission. The girl inhaled deeply. "I am not your subject," she said. "I am not your prisoner." She looked at Evan. "And I am not alone anymore." Her hands rose. The golden light around her surged like a living star. The overseers charged. She stepped forward. Boo. A final wave of power burst from her, bright as sunrise. The overseers were thrown back, their armor shattered. Some collapsed. Some crawled. None stood tall. Only she did. After the battle, silence filled the core room. Once the dust settled, the girl lowered her hands. The glow faded slowly. She looked tired, but her eyes were steady. Evan stepped toward her carefully. You okay? She nodded, voice soft. Yes, I am. Finally. Outside the windows, human ships circled the station. Rescue teams would arrive in minutes. She turned to Evan, a small, uncertain smile forming. When my people gather again, when the Empire rises again, will you stay with me? Evan smiled. You stood tall today, and I'm proud of you. Of course I'll stay. Her eyes shimmered. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of looking up at someone. She placed her hand, no longer trembling, over her heart. Thank you, Evan, for seeing me when no one else did. He bowed his head slightly, not because he was forced, but because he respected her. The girl touched his chin gently and lifted it. No more bowing, she whispered. Together, they walked toward the light of the arriving ships, a new future waiting for both a human and the alien girl who finally stood tall.